Hello, my name is Dawn Fiske and I am your host of Life Coaching on the Move. Welcome along. If you're new to this podcast, you're in for a little bit of a treat. There are plenty of past episodes that you can catch up on. If you are new to this episode, I would recommend that you listen to the first 2 or 3, almost first actually, so the original first 3, because they kind of give a great platform from which all the remaining episodes draw, really. So it would be definitely worth listening to the very first 3 episodes in the whole back catalogue, if none else. So this is me. I tell stories of my own experience and of those of many, many clients that I've coached over the last 17 years. I just chat, I just talk from the heart. I don't have it all scripted out or anything like that. I just give you my meandering thoughts. So welcome along. If you are a regular listener, thank you so much for coming back. I am really, really humbled and appreciative that you do so. And thank you for all your lovely messages. I've been getting emails through with good feedback and clients booking that have really enjoyed my work. Today I wanted, just as a point of admin, to say that a couple of weeks ago I offered one-to-one coaching and said that you could have 10% discount if you mention my dog's name, because I only want to give this to the podcast listeners because I know that you're all regulars and committed and loyal. So I will just repeat that. If any of you do want to book 2 coaching one-to-one sessions, when I say one-to-one, I mean just you. It doesn't have to be face-to-face. It can be over FaceTime or phone. So you can be abroad, you don't need to come to my office. You can, but you don't need to. If you do want to take advantage of that 10% for 2 sessions, then just the code that you've got that other inquirers via my website won't know is just quote my dog's name, which is Millie. And for those new ones, they won't know why you're quoting the dog's name. It's because quite often I am on a dog walk when I record these. And a lot of people have commented that they really like that. They feel they're walking along with me, especially if they're listening to it whilst they're walking their dog or walking to the station or walking through London on their lunch break or something. They feel that we're walking together. So because she's so often with me, if she's not out on a walk with me, she's sat at my feet as she is now, and you probably heard her or will hear her later shaking. Then quote her name Millie and you will earn yourself the 10% off the 2 coaching sessions. On top of that though, today I actually wanted to say something that I haven't said before in terms of offer. If you ever introduce me to your company who want to book a speaker, a motivational speaker session, which I do, and I've been working on one all day today actually, and did 2 last week for a company, one in Slough, one in London, to motivate their staff. An hour talk, hour and 10 minutes talk. If you ever introduce me to your company and they book me for that, then I would give you a free coaching session. And again, if you quote me Millie, the name Millie, I will know you heard that via the podcast, and so that's how you would earn it. So if you do work for a company and they put on staff events like that, or team meetings or manager off-site meetings, and you're in sales or something like that, and they are looking for anybody external to come in and give a talk tailored to what they want to message they want to get across to their team to motivate them, then I'd be very, very happy to be able to help you out if I can. So just get your bosses or whoever it is to contact me and then tell me that you've done so, and that would earn you your free coaching session. Anyway, I'm going to stop chatting now on this anyway and get straight into this week's episode of Life Coaching on the Move. I hope you enjoy it. Today, I thought I would start with a story. Every single one of my clients inspires me. I learn something from each of them. They all bring different stories, different backgrounds, different experiences, different viewpoints on how they see their experience, and they all want different outcomes. And it's always a two-way process. I always learn something from them, just as I hope they take something away from me too, and make big changes. But the most inspiring one I had of all, I thought worth sharing a little bit about with you now. I remember the day. It was a chap who had applied via email. I hadn't spoken to him. He'd just sent me an email saying, please could he book in at the weekend? Did I have any slots for career coaching? And I did. So I replied and we booked the time. And I gave him my address, etc. And it was all fine. The day before, on the Friday afternoon, I was sat at the computer and a message popped up on the email from him saying, oh, he had completely forgotten to ask, but was my house and the room, my office where we worked, was it wheelchair friendly? Because he was a wheelchair user, and I had never been asked that question before, so I had to physically go outside and just make sure, was it? And so I emailed him back and said, yes, I think it is. There's one small low step coming into the house, but I think that will be more than manageable, I think. And then you just take a right into the office where I work, and that's all on one level. So that's flat and not a problem, I don't think. So that was fine. I'll see you tomorrow. So I think I also put in the email that actually I would look out for him and I would come out and help him if he needed to, because there were a stony, gravelly driveway where he would park. Anyway, so I was waiting for him and he arrived in a normal looking car. It didn't look any different to any other car. And I popped out to say, would you like a hand? And by the time I got outside, he had moved from his driver's seat across into the passenger seat. So that confused me. I wasn't expecting that. So I went round to the other side of the car, by which time he had opened the car door. I'm not entirely sure how, but he'd opened the passenger car door, and he had his folded up wheelchair, which he was lifting out into the onto the stones and opening out, so he was able to get into it. But I'd also noticed that his key, or his button kind of key for this modern car, was attached to a fob neck holder. So it was around his neck, and he'd taken the key out with his teeth or his mouth, and so the key was dangling around his neck on a kind of necklace type fob. And I should also say that now I realised, by going out there, rushing out there to offer him some help, that he didn't have any arms, nor did he have any legs. He had sort of forearm, shortened arm to just above the elbow, and no hands. So in his passenger seat, he had long crutches with cups on the ends, which he put his smaller arms into to extend. So they basically extended out into to help him maneuver. So it became a kind of full crutch on his arms, if you see what I mean. He had two of those. So that is how he had lifted out the wheelchair out onto the stone gravel. He'd opened it up and he lifted himself now into the wheelchair. I offered to help. He didn't want any help. It actually was quite awkward for me because I didn't quite know what to do now. And I said, well, maybe I'll go and make coffee. Yes, you go and make coffee. So off I went. He clearly didn't want any help. He was incredibly independent. He knew exactly what he was doing, very able, had it sussed. And before the kettle had boiled and I come back into the room that we work in, he had manoeuvred into that room. He'd got himself onto his chair in my office, and had folded up the wheelchair, and the crutches were laid against his chair. And of course, as I put the coffee cups down, I'm now really anxiously thinking, I don't know how does he drink the coffee? But I'd already embarrassed myself once, and I didn't want to make him feel more awkward, or me. So I didn't mention the coffee, and I thought if he wants help, or if he needs a straw or something like that, he will, I'm certain, ask me. But he didn't, and he managed it, and he didn't burn himself or anything like that. He clearly had adapted so incredibly well that I would have thought that he would be there wanting coaching about how to cope with life, because that's my perception, that's my story, that's my thoughts. But he wasn't. He was there for career coaching. He was in a bit of a crossroads in his career, and he wanted to run it past a career coach. But for me, which he got, we worked on the career, and off he went, and everything was fine. But for me, it stayed with me for a long, long time, because, I was thinking about all the things he couldn't do. I was thinking, gosh, thankfully it was a lovely sunny day when he arrived. What if it had been raining, and out there? He would have got soaked, because he couldn't. I don't think, maybe he can use an umbrella, I don't know, but he would have got soaked in the time that it had taken him to manoeuvre around the stones, around the car, and go back out there again and get back in the same way he got out. I'm thinking about all the things, what he can't do, all the things, how does he prepare food and things like that. He wasn't thinking about all the things he couldn't do. That was my mindset. His mindset was all the things he could do. Should he take this job, or what was his career going to do? Where was his career going to go in the future? He was looking ahead at all the things he wanted to achieve, all the things that life was going to bring for him, or he was going to get in life, because he was clearly incredibly motivated and a real driver. A very driving force, very, very. He did not hold himself back by concentrating on what he couldn't do, as maybe I would have. He was one of the most inspiring clients I've ever worked with. And he taught me a lot without him realizing. We didn't focus on what he couldn't do. I didn't. That was me in my mind for days and days and weeks later. And I took so much from that. I wasn't there for the coaching. I was there to provide coaching. But as always, it's a two-way street. And I realized, sometimes in life, actually, let me rephrase that. So often in life, we need to not focus on what we can't do, or what we can't have, or where we can't go, and who we can't, all of those things are obstacles. They are doors closing in our face. We are closing those doors in our faces. And, we've got to remember that every closed door in front of us is not necessarily a locked door. And that's clearly that client's philosophy. They're not locked doors for him. They're not even closed doors for him. And why should they be as well? Absolutely, why should they be? Now, I remember... I'm going to give my age away, and I think I might have told this story before, but about animals adapting, and when fridge freezers first came out, or freezers, fridges were out, but freezers, chest freezers and things like that weren't out until I was at school as a teenager. They came out and everybody was buying them, and it was exciting. We could all have ice cream at home and ice lollies and things like that. And a big industry opened up, and a big frozen food industry opened up with Finders and Bird's Eye and people like that. And I do think I've told this story before, but the local rats around those areas of those factories, Finders and Bird's Eye and places like that, that did and specialised in frozen food products, those rats adapted incredibly fast and became long-haired rats really, really fast, in order to get what they needed from that changed environment. Also, I was reading, I think at a time soon after this client, I'd been working with this client, I was reading up, wheelchair-bound people climb and summit Kilimanjaro. Now, I wouldn't have thought that was possible, because I'm too busy focusing on what I think can't happen. That can't happen, because surely not. But it can, because they make the decision that they desperately would love to summit Kilimanjaro. I've always wanted to do that. A big goal in my life is to climb Kilimanjaro. They're not focusing on the fact that they're in a wheelchair and that they therefore can't with, speech marks. because they decided that's their goal, and then they work back from that goal, considering the how, the plan. How am I going to make that happen? What do I have to put in place in order to make that happen? What backup plans, what things, what organisation, what planning do I have to do to enable that to happen, so that I can fulfill my life goal of summiting Kilimanjaro. So often it's not actually our physical that holds us back, and it's not our money. You often hear the excuse, and I will use that word excuse, I haven't got the money, or the excuse, I haven't got the time. If only I had more time, I'd ring my mum more, I'd see my friends more, or I'd get fit. Or if only I was slimmer and not so heavy, then I'd get fit. Wrong way round, just as a by thought. Or if only I had more money, I'd be able to do this, this and this, or I'd be able to change my job, or I'd get out of this rut, or I'd go travelling, or we would do X, Y and Z. Almost all of the time, those are excuses. They're false objections. Yes, there might be an element of truth, but it's not the be-all or end-all, because we can work around that. We can make more time. We just use our time differently. We've got the money, or we could make the money. We just spend our money differently. We don't need an expensive monthly payout on our phone. We could get a really cheap, I think I pay £10 a month now on my phone. That's because I've got a really basic phone. And a really basic plan, and I don't want anything more complicated than that. I don't use it for YouTube all the time or anything like that. So £10 a month on the phone, I cut that down. Food, as I mentioned to you a few weeks ago that we were trying veganary. We have saved money on food by doing that, by buying chickpeas, lentils, rice. All of those things are dirt cheap, and then you just need the veg to go with it, and the spices and things like that, and you can buy that cheaply from market stalls, from Aldi and Lidl. You can buy fresh fruit and vegetables and lentils and do a stir fry, or do a vegetable chili or whatever. Really healthy food, really healthy food. You feel better, you sleep better, my skin's better, my energy's better, for less. Actually, I realised the food shopping where I was spending a fortune was all the rubbish that the kids crave, the crisps, the snacks, the rubbish in the naughty cupboard, things like that. That's what's costly. So it's just a case of us deciding that we're going to put our finances in other places, saving money here and there, saving money on the food bill, or saving money on your phone, those sorts of things. Or do you need Spotify? Can you use the old-fashioned way? Do we need all the streaming things? Can we use library books instead of buying books? Can we go back to the old-fashioned system? I absolutely love going through charity shops and getting bargains. I got a dress once. We were going out for a dinner dance thing, an awards night, and I got a stunning black knee-length cocktail dress for, I think it was about £8, and in a charity shop. About £8. One of my favourite dresses, probably one that I've worn out socially for bashes like that, more so than anything, certainly more so than brand new expensive ones that I've ever treated myself to, and it felt great. It was about £8. So, and it's the same with time. We say we haven't got enough time. We have got enough time. We just need to use it differently, or we just need to get up 1 hour earlier, or go to bed earlier, stop streaming and Facebooking and all those sorts of things late at night and staying awake. Go to bed an hour earlier, get up an hour earlier, get loads done when the house is quiet. You've got yourself that hour. So if you've always wanted to write a book or write a blog or something like that, that's one way you can get that time. Or if you want to get fit, just get up 45 minutes earlier, have your kit laid out beside you, fall straight into your kit in the morning. So you cut out that shall I, shan't I, no I shan't chat that goes on in our little heads, and we talk ourselves out of things, fall straight in the kit, go out there with a head torch on or an luminous jacket or something, go out and do a half an hour fast run. Even if you can't do a long one, but you do it fast, you get something out of it. Or do some HIIT work for half an hour if you've just got half an hour, or half an hour, 20 minutes bit of yoga in front of the telly on YouTube. There's loads of yoga stuff, all sorts of things that we can do. Doesn't have to cost us a fortune. We don't need to pack up a bag and go to an expensive gym with a lot of membership costs. That takes time to pack that bag, drive there, do it, shower, drive back, get your breakfast, or get on a train, or whatever you're doing. We can just use the good outdoors. We can just get on a bike, get out there, get an old second-hand bike off eBay or something, go cycling, go running, go walking, just go for a walk. Do some yoga in front of the TV, do some yoga outside when in the summer, early in the morning, get that fresh air, go out into nature. So if you're using the excuse of time, it is an excuse. If you're using the excuse of money, it is an excuse. Sell things, get rid of some clutter out of your cupboards on eBay and get some money together for whatever it is. So we put obstacles in our way. It's generally not our physical being that is the issue. It's not that we're overweight. We can lose weight by doing the fitness. That's not a good excuse. Wheelchair bound people achieve so much. So it's not our physical being that can prevent us. It's not the money. It's not the time. It's not our commitments, because, we just need to commit. We need to communicate with our commitments about what we'd like to do, etc., etc. We put excuses in front of our way. I know that because I've worked with so many clients. I've done it myself. Of course, we're all human, but they are obstacles. They are self-inflicted, kind of our mind. It's our mindset. And it is our mindset that will equally solve those problems. By thinking around that issue, by working around it in our mind, we will find a solution. And it's just a case of thinking about it differently. One of the ways of doing it, of course, is, okay, so you've got that worry in your mind, or you've got that reason, or that obstacle, or that mindset that you're running past yourself. You're saying, I can't because of X, Y, Z. I would if I could this, and this. I will one day when I've got more X, Y, and Z. What is it? What is it that you're saying? What is it that's your block? And then, so write that down. In fact, get a piece of paper and separate it into 2 columns. And on one side put the things I'm thinking, or my excuses, or the reasons why I can't do X, Y, and Z, or the reasons why I can't have X, Y, and Z, or achieve X, Y, and Z. And then on the other side, put, what would my best friend say? Or what would my coach say? Or what would my loved ones say? i.e. somebody else. So that makes you, or helps you, get out of your own self and your own blockage, and it makes you get into somebody else's shoes and see how they would view it. So you can put in that column, what would my best friend say, or my manager, or my wife or husband, or you can put, and equally you can also put in that column, what would I say to my best friend if it were them? So what would you tell them? Sometimes when I'm working with clients, it's so clear to me, as clear as the nose on their face, what the solution might be, but they can't see it. For them, it's a block, because they're telling themselves, they're telling their subconscious, I don't know how to solve this. There isn't another way around it. There's no way I can do X, Y, and Z. And all the time they're telling their subconscious, I haven't got the answer, I don't know. There is no way around it. The subconscious won't give them that answer. But the minute we say, what would my best friend say? That's not the same block. We're not blocking that thought. We've opened up our subconscious to, what would my best friend say? Well, she'd probably say this, this and this, or he would say that, that and that. Or what would I tell my best friend if it were them? Well, I'd say X, Y and Z, because that takes away the blockage that we've got in our own subconscious. We're holding our subconscious down. We're telling it, I don't know, I can't think of an answer, I can't think of a solution, and therefore it does what we tell it. It doesn't give us the answer or the solution because we've told it we don't know. So that's one way of, so if you're ever worrying about something, or you're ever giving reasons why you can't, or you're holding yourself back, write it out. All the thoughts that you're running in your head about it, the preventing thoughts, the blockages, the excuses, and on the other side of the sheet, what would you say to your best friend, or to a colleague, or to your husband or wife? Or what would they say to you? What would they tell you? Or a coach, what would a coach tell you? What would a manager tell you, etc. So just step out of yourself and away from your own blockages, and consider the other options. Because, you know, we do get in our own way. This week I had to take my son back to the hospital to have a review after his surgery 3 weeks ago. My boy has been having a series of surgeries at Great Ormond Street Hospital, and they have been, I have to say, whilst I'm on this podcast, that that hospital is just a phenomenal place with some phenomenal surgeons, nurses. They are all just outstanding. It is an amazing place, and if you're ever looking to do anything for charity, it is a great charity to do work for, or to donate to. And they have done him a great lot of treatment, given him some great care, some phenomenal expertise. And we went on, he had surgery 3 weeks ago, and it went well. And we went for the follow-up on Tuesday, and I genuinely believe this was it now. They would say, great, you have a follow-up in 6 months, but thereafter you're done. We will be discharging you, and it'll all be over. He's had 6 surgeries so far. Anyway, we went on Tuesday, and they were having a look, and they have decided, because they are so good and so expert, and care about their results, they have decided that it's only 70% improved for my son, and they're not happy with that. They want 100% improvement for him, and so they are now they have suggested they want to repeat the surgery and do more work, and do it better and deeper and bigger and better, and more successful, to give him 100% improvement. And I wasn't mentally prepared for that. That had not crossed my mind. My son, however, took it really well. He inspires me. He's incredible. He's very laid back about it, very philosophical about it, and he was fine. It might have something to do with the fact that he will lose a little bit more time again at college, and he doesn't mind that at all, far from it. So he was very laid back about it, but for me, it just knocked me for 6, because I thought in my head it was over, it was finished, we could move on. The poor lad could get on with his life now and enjoy his health, and draw a line under it all, and it was done, finished, behind us. And for me as a mum, I hate it when he has surgery. I hate going into the anaesthetic room with him and staying brave and staying optimistic and strong, as you do as a mum, and then the minute his eyes roll and he goes, and they put the mask over his face and they take me out, as all mums and dads do there, because there's lots of theatre, operating theatres there, that we're all coming out, being brought out by a theatre nurse, and all of us are crying. We've all gone in looking really brave and strong and cheerful and upbeat, especially for the little ones. He's older, although I was told that sometimes that's worse because they know too much, and it certainly was his second to last one, very traumatic for him. But it's very hard as a parent to go through, but you stay brave until they're asleep, and then hits you. And then you have all of that time waiting for them, waiting for the buzzer to call you. Hours sometimes can go by before that buzzer buzzes saying, please go to recovery. He's coming out of his anaesthetic and you need to be there. They're very, very good. They summon you so that you are one of the first things that they see when they open up their eyes, especially for the tiny tots. So you have that angst. You've trusted your child and their health and their life in the hands of other people. You walk away as a parent, and it's a really, really hard thing to do. And the thought on Tuesday of having to go through that again when I hadn't mentally prepared myself for it was a real toughie, actually. And I, of course, didn't say anything, and of course held it together and didn't show it to him at all, but could have quite literally sat in the corner and wept a bit. Nothing like an overreaction. Anyway, but you don't do that. You hold it together and thank them very much and wait for the dates and fill in all the forms and things. And I came out of the room and there were still some people in the waiting room, still some parents and children. And there are some sights that you see at Great Ormond Street, some little children who have had such an unfortunate start in life, that have got everything against them physically. And there's so heartbreaking to see some of those sights. And as I walked out of the room on Tuesday with my son, I saw one of those sights. I saw one of those little children, and they're so happy, and they're playing with all the toys that are there, and the parents are with them, and they must have had operation after operation and probably got a life ahead of them of surgery after surgery after surgery, and they're so upbeat and so strong and so beautiful, and such lovely little children with such lovely families being cared for by such a lovely hospital and such caring staff, that it suddenly just put everything back into context with me. It gave me such a pep talk in one viewing, one just turn of my head to see a child far, far worse, struggling with far greater issues than my son. And it puts it straight into context and makes you pull yourself together, realise how lucky we are, realise how much worse things could be, and that actually all of this is just a mindset. So what I'm saying is, our mind is our biggest asset, but it can also be our biggest obstacle. And the little background chatter that we've got goes on and on and on and on and on, all of us, all day long. It's like a radio in the background, if you are allowed to have a radio on at your workplace, or you do it at your home when you're doing all your chores at home, whether you've got the radio in the background. That's like our internal chatterbox, our internal dialogue. And sometimes that chatterbox is helpful. Like the guy, my coaching client who inspired me. He had such helpful internal dialogue that was determined and driven, and solution mentality and achievements and happiness and just getting on with life. What a strong mind that man has. What a strong mind my son has, just to bounce back from each and every one of those and just take it in his stride and move on from it. And I believe I have got that, but at times I have weak moments, which I guess we all do, actually. But we have to rein it back in. We have to pull it back on course, that aeroplane going off course. We just got to pull it back on course and give ourselves a pep talk and brush ourselves off. Sometimes it takes something like me seeing that beautiful little girl who was clearly struggling with far worse issues to make me realise. And that's what we need to do, isn't it? Whatever bad times we're going through, whether it's career, family, love life, children, issues, struggles, whatever it is, we need to get context. And sometimes I say to myself and clients, fast forward from this moment to, say, 6 months ahead. Just zoom forward to 6 months' time. Will you remember this? Will it be significant in 6 months? Will it be very big, very significant? Or will it be a drop in the ocean and you barely can remember it? Certainly won't be impactful, certainly won't have emotion about it, certainly won't be that significant. If that is the case in 6 months' time, it will barely be a memory for you. It will be insignificant and no emotion attached. Then we need to let it go now. Why wait for 6 months? Because once we've got it into context, and I know that in 6 months' time he will have had that surgery and it will go fine, and I will cope with the anaesthetic room and the waiting and the discomfort that he will be in for the first few days. We'll get through it. We've done 6 so far. I think this will be his 7th. It's fine. Of course it's fine. And in 6 months it'll be right behind us and he will be enjoying good health and fitness and he'll be fine. He'll be absolutely fine. Whereas that little girl will still be struggling with a lot. So put it into context, get perspective, fast forward a little bit. We've got to get over ourselves. The most important conversation we're ever going to have with anybody is the conversation we have with ourselves. And I may have said this a week or two ago, but I heard someone say the other day, we need to talk to ourselves less and listen to ourselves more. Is that the right way around? Or no, it's not. It's talk more to ourselves and listen less. That's right. So what we're saying, we've got to make sure what we're saying is what we want to be saying. What we've got to do with that radio in the background is make sure it is tuned into the right channel. One that helps you, supports you, encourages you, drives you forward, gives you a kick up the backside, gives you a pep talk and puts things back into reality and back into perspective. It tells you off when you're being silly and feeling sorry for yourself. It pushes you outside when you're feeling lazy and I can't be bothered. It stops the excuses when you say, I haven't got enough money, I haven't got enough time. It gives you a reality check. It puts that back into context. So that conversation you're having with yourself, that radio channel needs to be tuned properly. So it's not annoying. It's not slightly out of tune and distorted. So go into your heads like I had to and give myself a pep talk, bring it back on course and do the 2-column. What's worrying me? What am I saying? What's holding me back? What are my thoughts? What's that radio saying? And what would my best friend say or I say to my best friend? And get it back into context. I truly hope that's been helpful. I don't think I'd even planned to share that story with you. But there you are. That's it. I hope that helps you. Go and have a really strong and determined and confident week, just as I will now. And I'm really, really, really looking forward to talking to you on the next episode of Life Coaching on the Move.